Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channel. I'm Belinda Ellsworth, and this is Throwback Thursday. And this is where typically I am sharing a little bit about my journey or a personal story of some kind, and usually how it relates to either business or personal situations that have happened in my life that are kind of learning lessons. So this is that learning lessons in life that hopefully that can help you in maybe just offering either inspiration or solutions. That's what I'm always aiming to do, is offer you inspiration, motivation, or solutions to whatever that you might be going through. So people always ask me about my personal journey, and I kind of shared part one last week, which is how I started out in sales. So that is sales is a great, I love being in sales. Like, I think that it's exhilarating and fun, and yes, it can be hard, and you have to learn resilience, and you have to learn rejection, and a lot of that. But I think that a lot of people have bad feelings about sales. Like, oh, I don't want to be, the one thing I hear all the time is, I don't want to be like a used car salesman. So all the negative sort of thoughts that you have about salespeople. And at some point here, probably on a Tuesday, we are going to talk about the top 10 sort of ways to be a good salesperson. Like, what makes a good salesperson, so that you don't become one of those negative images that you have about what it means to be in sales. So I was in sales for like 16 years, and it was through the direction of a couple of motivational speakers that said, you should be on your own. And that I was like, okay. And so I did. And then I started my business. I saved up some money so that I would have like a little bit of marketing and some other strategies and money to live on before I started making money. And then I just worked at getting things booked. I built my business, honestly, very much on word of mouth. And so one of the things that I did, and you don't have to think about doing this in person, but like, what can you do even online or getting in front of people? And one of the things that I did while I was trying to get hired to speak at companies and to train or to do a keynote or whatever it was, that I created my own. So until I had some, I created my own seminar, and where it was a half-day seminar, and people came and they paid to come. And for me, I always kept the price really, really low, because I wanted more people to come. So I had people saying to me, in fact, oh my gosh, this seminar is so good that you could be charging at least $100 for this. This is back then, right? And I charged $25 to attend. And I said, I know, but I'm getting almost always like it at the lowest amount, like 50 people. And most times I'm getting close to 100 people. That was always our target, was to sell 100 tickets to that event. And I'm getting like 100 people. And other people were charging more, but they only had 25 people in attendance. And so for me, it was 100 people meant that if I was selling to 25% of the audience, that meant that, and that was a high number, or 30% of the audience, that meant that 30 people were likely to purchase products from me. And so I looked at it as a totality, not just of, okay, I am getting this many people in, 20 people paying, $50 or $100. I looked at it as, not only, this is the long game, I looked at it as, I get more butts in seats, I get more people in the room, more people are getting exposure, then I'm going to sell to more people because that number is higher. And I knew my number was pretty high. I was selling to about 25 to 35, 36% of a room on a regular ongoing basis. That was throughout my entire career. And so I knew then, what's the average on that is around 30%. And so then I'm going to make that much from the back of the room. I started to learn about people's buying habits as well. And I kept documentation on what did they purchase, what on of those 30 orders, what was the average, here's the total sales, then what did that average out per person? I mean, some people might have only spent $8, but some people spent $300. So what was the average? So then I learned my average, then I could almost sort of start to predict how much product I needed, and I could almost predict how much I would make on a particular event. So that is how I started. Now, the other thing is, so I created opportunities for myself while I was reaching out and getting exposure. Word of mouth was great because the more people that I got in front of, the more people that saw it, the more people said, oh my gosh, and they started recommending me. Like sometimes it was from those ones I did on my own that an executive or a leader might have been there, and then they go back to their company and say, we need to hire this person for our event coming up. So that's how I started getting national conferences and big speaking events. And like I told you, I had my first one, like came from a little tiny seminar I did in January with 16 people. And then I got their national conference that summer with, a few thousand people in attendance. And it was exciting and it was fun. So that is one thing. The second thing is that I started really looking at my business. First of all, I never ever thought like, oh, I've got this or I'm hot stuff. And that was an important thing to learn too, is, if you can sort of master this, and some people think it's a negative way to look at it, but it helps you so much in all the areas of financially, how you look at your business and how you're working. But like, you're only as good as the gig you did yesterday. So you might have felt like, oh, I've made it. And like, wow, like this is awesome. But that gig's over. And now we've got the next gig that we've got to do. I remember for myself, one of those times, this was super early on in my career. And when you get asked to speak at a conference, then you are usually put up in a hotel and they pay your expenses to get there. And I was speaking at this amazing resort, kind of outside of Ottawa, Canada. And I logged in. It was at this big, huge, massive log cabin. I'm trying to think of the name of it right this minute. It's escaping me. So, but it was beautiful and it was this gorgeous resort. And so they gave me my key and I was walking around that resort and I was looking for all the numbers in the hotel rooms, and I couldn't find it. And then I was like, where can this be? Like, how am I missing this? And there was this like little side hallway, and then it had its own separate entrance off the main area of the hotel. It had its own like separate, like it looked like a little house, and it had a doorbell on the door. And I remember walking into that, and it was this huge suite and with this exclusive entry, and I thought I had hit the jackpot of life. I remember laying on the bed and going, oh my gosh, like this is so exciting. But guess what? That was great and that was awesome. And it did make me feel super grateful that I was where I was and that I was like moving on up. But that was over. And the next time you're in just a, regular hotel room, like you can't ever get too full of yourself, because you are only as good as the gig you did yesterday. Like if you will carry that with you, it will help you stay humble. It will, like, you might get the biggest interview of your life, but then the next day you're back to doing the same old thing that you were doing forever. That was very much like when I was doing my podcast. I started getting, because I would do entrepreneurs on Mondays and I recorded artists on Thursdays, and we started getting some kind of bigger artists, and it was fun. And I remember when I got the Ben Folds interview, and it's super exciting. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got this interview. But then that interview is over and you're back to like, who are you going to interview? Like, you can never get too full of yourself to think I've made the big time, because the minute that happens, you will start treating your business differently and acting differently. I can promise you. So stay humble, have some humility, and keep remembering, yep, I've made it. This is great. I am making strides. I am doing well, but you're as good as the gig you did yesterday. Now, I've been teaching a lot of things in here, like commitment, and I've been teaching about focus. And so, all the things that I am teaching you on things that you need to be doing in your business, those are the things I built my business on. My 4 pillars, I was actually even teaching that the focus, commitment, consistency, and organization. I was teaching that even before I became a motivational speaker. I was teaching that to my sales reps when I was a manager and leader of a sales team. I was teaching that to them. And I created that. Like I was like, okay, this is what's really important. And so then I built my business on those same principles. So when I'm teaching those to you and I'm telling you, here's these 4 pillars of success, focus, commitment, and we still have yet to do the consistency and organization, I can tell you that those were the things I implemented every single day in having a business. And so, that is really, how my business went along. And in the very beginning, I hadn't had my daughter yet. I was trying to get 8 speaking engagements a month. And sort of that was our motto of 8 will make you great. I had that written right across the top of our calendar every month. That was my team's motto. And at that time, I only had a team, I think, of 3. But that the person that was booking me, that was her goal. Like our goal is to get 8 a month, 2 a week, speaking engagements. And that's going to be what we strive for. Well, pretty soon we were hitting the 8, no problem. Now, what I'm going to tell you right now is probably one of the things that can derail you just about more than anything. And it's an obsession about what other people are doing. A complete comparison. Like when you compare yourself to others, that is a trap that you will get yourself hung up in and can actually derail you from the success that you're having. You could be having great success, but because you're comparing yourself to someone else, does it matter? No. Now, we can emulate what other people are doing. We can strive to sort of do what other people are doing. But when you start comparing yourself to what other people are doing, and you say, oh, I'm not very successful. So here I am. We're doing 8 a month. Remember, the goal was 8 a month. And there was a speaker at the time that I was keeping my eyeball on. She was kind of speaking in some of the same circles as I was. And every time I turned around, her name was coming up. If I was sometimes working on getting a convention, they would say, oh, we're hiring such and such a person. And it started to really bug me. Like, what the heck? What is she doing? And she was trying to follow sort of my lead in like, okay, I'm going to do a whole bunch of these seminars on her own, and then that will get me in front of people, which will then get me on stages. So I was obsessed. I would go to her website and I would look because she would post all of her dates on that website. And she was doing about 20 a month. No lie. Now, I can tell you that for 25 years, I spoke to 4 to 8 people, like 6. Really, it was like 6 to 8. 6 to 8 audiences a month, every month for 25 years. Sometimes, like a summer season of conventions is usually bigger. I would do more in the summers. And so it wouldn't be unusual for me to have 10 sometimes in a month. One time I had 14 in a month. That almost killed me. Like I can speak to that knowing the travel, the preparation. I always have done a lot of preparation when I was going to speak. So all of that, like that's hard. It's hard. So that's why 8's my goal. She's doing 20. So I start getting obsessed about that. And I go to her website every day. I'm looking more at what she's doing. So what am I losing? The first thing I'm losing is my focus. I'm losing my focus because now I'm obsessed about what she's doing instead of what I'm doing. And then I started complaining about it. So now I'm bringing down not only myself, but I'm bringing down my team. So finally, my gal who worked for me, who this is your goal, and the goal is what? 8. She looks at me and says, okay, from what I understand, you told me, so my direction in what I'm doing for you is to book you 8 seminars a month. And you are currently doing that. So has that changed? Do you want to be on the road 20 times a month? And I said, I do not. I'm super happy with 8. Then what does it matter what she is doing? You are destroying the momentum we are creating. You are destroying the joy that you are having in doing this. And you're driving me crazy because you're making me feel like I'm not doing my job. Okay, then. And that was like, whoo, hit you right in the face. But I was like, all right, that's a big lesson to learn. So if you are doing that, stop doing that, because it won't do anything for you but make you lose your focus, make you lose your commitment. It will start to make you feel like a failure when really you're not failing. Why are you comparing yourself to somebody that maybe they've been doing this a lot longer than you? Maybe, like, I can't compare myself to, I started a YouTube channel, and now we're into our 3rd week of doing this. And, I've had some really great success in other platforms of my life, in person and everywhere else, but I've never had success here because I've never done it here. Basically, the reason I even got a YouTube channel was the person that was helping me with my podcast said we should be posting. And that was only after we started doing videos, because at first the podcast was just audio. We weren't doing video alongside of it. And so I was like, yeah, sure, post it there. That's all we ever did. That was it. And so when I finally made a decision, like, okay, I'm going to work at this, it's hard. And it's hard not to compare. So the only person I can compare to is me. That's it. That's the only person you should be comparing. And that's why numbers are important. So what did we do week 1? Okay. What did we do week 2? Was it better? It was. What are we doing week 3? Don't know yet. So, but week 2 was better than week 1. And now I'll get some data from week 2 and then week 3. And as long as I'm even improving by a little bit, then that's all that matters. But if I get frustrated and say, why are not, this is better than that. I watched that person and they don't even know what they're talking about. And they've got all these views, and like, it can drive you to insanity, and it gets you off the mark of what is your focus. So that's a big lesson that I want you to take with just sharing my story. I'm not going to share my whole 30-year story, because the pandemic and what happened to my business during that time is a big story all by itself. So some of the, high points definitely that I can say that I carried with me in my business that are good learning lessons is that I always gave more that was asked of me. So here's the contract that I had to go do whatever job I was doing, and I always brought more. And I always shared more. And I've shared this on one of the other episodes, but when I got up and did my speeches, I gave people the exact tips to walk away with, that if they didn't purchase anything from me, they would still be able to walk away, have the information, put the information into action, and start to see results in their business. That's how I felt about it. So everybody deserved to have that. Some people told me I was crazy. You're giving away the whole store. You're just giving it away. But because I gave away so many great tips, people were like, there's no way I can remember all this. So I had higher back of the room sales than almost any other speaker that I know of. I mean, I had other speakers calling me up, including Zig Ziglar's team, and said, we're only selling to about 10% of an audience. How are you doing this? How are you doing this? And so I said, well, here's some of the things that I do. And I was very clear about it. I did make reference. Sometimes I didn't say, if you want the rest of the story, I said, and this is exactly, when you purchase my CDs, they are exact to what I'm doing on this stage today. Because that's another thing, is people would buy a program and then it wasn't even like what they heard, and they're buying, they want to know that I'm buying what you just did, and I am going to be able to learn from that. And I'm going to be able to repeat that, and I'm going to learn the verbiage. I'm going to learn language. I'm going to learn selling strategies. I'm going to learn exactly what to say and how to do that, how to do a close. I'm going to learn how to build my client base. Like, they knew that's what I'm going to learn. So that's the other thing I would say. And I always interviewed each company that that I worked for. And I'm just going to share this one story because I got a contract to speak with Ford Motor Company, and it was like 8 cities. So I was doing the Midwest tour of preparation for the auto show. So all of their, sales reps in whatever city this was, they were going to be attending the auto show. And so my job was to teach them how to get the most out of that auto show. And I decided to do it before, during, and after. So that was just how I decided to do my speeches. And so one of the things that I always ask from companies is, could you please send me a packet of information about your products? Most people, I would get either a pretty big padded envelope with different information about the products, and so that I could have a better understanding of their products and their programs. Or I would get maybe a box, a small skinny box, like those mailers from the post office, and how much ever they could fit in there, right? That was typically what I would get in the mail prior to me going. Now, later on in life, people started sending it all digitally, right? But in the beginning, that's how it was sent to me, either in a padded envelope or in this small rectangular box. When I got the gig with Ford Motor Company, the box came, and I kid you not, it was about 3.5 feet tall by a foot and a half wide, or 2 feet wide. It was a massive box that showed up on my front door. And I opened that up, and there was big, huge 3-ring binders on every new car that they were going to be selling at this auto show, like all the new lineup of the cars that were going to be there. And I panicked so hardcore that I couldn't even breathe. I mean, I am thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to take in all this information? And I started studying those books. And I'm pretty good. I've got a really good memory, and I could study my material, and then I could just spit that right out on stage and give quotes and price points and statistics. And I'm good at that. Like, that's just a skill set that I happen to be gifted with. That's good. So I'm trying to do that, and I'm freaking out, right? Well, one of the key points of being a good salesperson is you want to not sell from description, but benefit. Like, you want to sell the benefit, not the description. And believe it or not, 80% of people, when they sell anything, they describe it. This is what you're going to get. These are the features, and they go all along the features. And at the end of the day, a person buys because of the benefit. So I'm trying to study all of this, and it's like, this vehicle has a 26.5 cubic foot trunk, and then this has this, and this has this, and I'm like, whoo. And I was starting to panic. Like, one of the first times ever in my life, I was like, I'm in over my head. Like, what the world were you thinking, girl? Then I sat down and said, no, I'm coming at this all wrong. I'm talking about the features. I'm describing this vehicle in 26 point. Who cares? So then I started going back, what's the benefit of that size of a trunk? What does a woman want to know? If a woman's purchasing a car, what's important to her? Well, what's important is that the stroller fits in there along with a whole load of groceries. 8 bags of groceries in my stroller is going to fit with no problem. What does a man want to know? I could fit 2 sets of golf clubs. So if I'm going golfing with my buddy, both my sets of golf clubs will fit in this trunk. Like, these are things. Like, what is important about having a bigger trunk? How many suitcases would fit in there? What would this hold? What's another benefit of maybe this electronic, door or seats that fold up? Well, not that the feature in it does that, but like, why would somebody want to buy that vehicle because of that feature? So I just got on stage and I started talking, and the vice president, and at one of the ones I did, I think in Wisconsin, the actual CEO was there too. And I was like a nervous wreck because I just got up and I said, well, I got all this information and I could sit here and tell you all this, but in reality, that's not how you're going to sell this vehicle. You're going to tell a woman that has 26.5 cubic feet inches of a trunk space, and that is not going to mean anything to her. But if you tell her that she is going to be able to fit 8 bags of groceries and her stroller in there, then that is going to be a reality for her. It's going to connect with her. And so I just then went on all through all of it. And he actually got up after I talked and he said, she was spot on. And that's probably a mistake that we're making. And that's what we sent to her. Instead of, these are the selling points of that, what the customer wants. And so I was relieved, but that is a learning lesson, and I got super panicked. One time I was speaking to, it was a national conference of otologists. So all the hearing doctors across the country were at this event. And these are doctors, and like, they sell. So I was teaching them how to better sell their hearing aids, right? And again, I got books of all the hearing aids, and some were as big as my like baby finger and others were like this. And so it was all this stuff. And so then I just read a whole book on the psychology of why people don't want to go get a hearing aid. And so I read that entire book of why someone doesn't want a hearing aid. And so then when I went to those doctors, you can talk about how it's magnified by this much and it's this many kilohertz or whatever it was. I don't even remember what the terminology there is, but it was like, and this one is better because now it's magnified by blah, 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 decimals. And I said, you need to be speaking to this patient like you're going to be able to hear the birds chirping outside of your window, which they haven't probably heard in a really long time. You're going to be able to hear your grandchildren laughing. And so I just did my whole speech on why we want to help people to feel that it's important. Like what quality of life are they going to have if they get a hearing aid? Not that I look like an idiot if I get a hearing aid, which is how some people feel like, oh, I look less than, or I don't want anybody to know I'm wearing a hearing aid. And it's like, why isn't the quality of life the more important thing? And so, and I had one doctor that came up to me and said, I think I've been to 32 of these, and I've never heard anybody make me fall in love with my profession again, the way that you just did. And that what I am doing to change people's lives in getting off of the greatest and next technology. And that's a compliment. And I just say that to you because it is easy. It is so easy to get wrapped up in details that don't really matter to the outcome of what you're trying to deliver for your client. And I think I'm going to leave it there with you today because I'm trying to keep these at a little better of how long that they are. But there's a lot more. I've learned lots of lessons. Those are a couple of big ones today about sort of my journey in all of this. And then probably the biggest hurdle that I faced and have continued to face is how my business changed overnight due to the pandemic. And that was difficult, and it still continues to be a challenge. And it's not the same that it was. And I lost who I was in that, and that's not fun. So we'll talk some more, and I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to talk about the other part of my health journey and helping you to get on the right path to getting your health back and having the wellness that you want to have on a long-term basis. So I hope to see you tomorrow. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like it, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.